You see, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Nobody gets extra time. Not presidents, not CEO, not artists, not athletes. So the real question is not how much time you have, it's how you spend it. And successful people, the ones who seem to be doing everything and still have time to breathe, they've mastered the art of prioritizing. But not just prioritizing the obvious. They go deeper. They've developed the skill of knowing exactly what deserves their attention and what doesn't. It starts with clarity. You can't prioritize if you don't know what truly matters to you. And most people never slow down long enough to ask that question. But the successful ones, they get still, they listen, and they learn to separate the urgent from the important, because the world is loud. Everybody's pulling at you. Emails, phone calls, meetings, opinions. Life is full of distractions dressed up as obligations. But if you say yes to everything, you end up doing nothing that really counts. Now let me tell you something. Everything that glitters is not gold, and every opportunity is not a blessing. People who manage their time well, they look at each task and ask themselves, is this aligned with where I'm trying to go? Is this feeding my purpose or draining my energy? That kind of clarity doesn't come easy, but it's worth everything. Because once you know what matters, you stop negotiating with chaos. I've watched people move through their day like they're spinning in circles, always busy, but never getting anywhere. And then I've seen others walk with a kind of quiet power, because every move they make is intentional. They don't just fill their schedule, they craft it. They wake up already knowing the 3 things they must get done, and those 3 things are not random. They're tied to vision, to growth, to something bigger than the moment. You want to know what else they do? They protect their time like it's sacred, because it is. You wouldn't hand over your paycheck to just anyone, would you? Then why hand over your minutes, your hours, your life? Because time is life. Every "I'll do it later" is a loan you're taking out on a future that isn't promised. And successful people, they don't wait for perfect conditions. They act, they move. They understand that done is better than perfect, and momentum is more valuable than perfection. There's also something beautiful about the way they give themselves permission to let things go. Not every email needs a reply. Not every conflict needs a reaction. Not every detail has to be micromanaged. They delegate, they delete, they delay, and they don't feel guilty about it, because they know that for every minute spent on something meaningless, something meaningful is being pushed aside, and they won't let that happen. But let me be real with you. It takes courage to live like that, to say no when everyone expects a yes, to walk away from the crowd and walk toward your calling. That's not easy. But if you want to be successful, not just in your career, but in your soul, you have to stop living by default and start living by design. People often think success is about working harder. No. Success is about working smarter. And the smartest thing you can do is give your best time to your best work. Don't waste your morning scrolling. Don't waste your energy pleasing people who wouldn't even clap for you if you won. Don't waste your gifts chasing someone else's definition of success. When I prioritize my day, I don't start with a long list. I start with one thing: what will matter when the sun goes down? What will still matter next week, next month, next year? That's where my time goes. That's where my heart goes. Everything else, it can wait, or it can go. And if you get nothing else from me today, I want you to get this. Your time is not just something you spend. It's something you invest. And just like money, where you invest it determines what kind of return you get. So invest it wisely. There's something sacred about the morning, something soft and powerful all at once. Before the world starts shouting, before the phone lights up with demands, before the noise creeps in. There's a quiet hour that belongs only to you. And the people who understand that, the ones who really know how to move through life with purpose, they don't waste that hour. They don't rush through it. They honor it. You see, successful people, they don't stumble into their day. They step into it with intention, with clarity, with rhythm. They understand that the way you begin is the way you carry everything that follows. It's not about waking up at 5 a.m. just to say you did. It's about what you do with the time you have when the sun is still deciding whether to rise. It's about claiming that space before the world takes it from you. I've watched too many people wake up already running from the alarm, running late, running on caffeine and stress. But when you start your day in chaos, that chaos follows you. It seeps into your work, your words, your decisions. And then you wonder why nothing feels aligned, why the day feels like a weight instead of a rhythm. But the truth is, it began the moment you opened your eyes. So what do successful people do? They begin slow. They begin centered. Some pray, some stretch, some sit in silence and breathe deep. They read, they write. They set their minds on something greater than whatever waits in their inbox. It doesn't have to be long, but it does have to be yours. An distracted, unhurried, uninterrupted time that reminds you who you are before the world tells you what to be. And when they do move, they move with purpose, they plan. They map out the day with care. Not because they are obsessed with control, but because they respect their time too much to let it drift. You see, the morning is when your mind is clearest, your energy is highest, your willpower is strongest. And successful people, they don't waste those prime hours reacting to everybody else's needs. They use that time to create, to reflect, to build, whether it's building their business, their body, or their peace. Now, I'm not saying life doesn't throw curveballs. It does. Life is messy. Kids need breakfast. Emails come early. But the difference is when you've grounded yourself in the morning, when you've fed your soul before you feed the world, you move differently. You respond instead of react. You carry stillness into the storm. That's a kind of power they don't teach in school. And let me say this, starting your day with intention is not just about productivity. It's about presence. It's about reminding yourself that your life is not a list to complete, but a moment to experience. That the way you show up for the sunrise says something about the way you'll show up for the rest of your life. And if you can learn to find beauty in that first light, before the meetings, before the noise, you'll find beauty in places most people overlook. You want to know what sets successful people apart. It's not always their talent. It's their discipline, their consistency, their decision to show up for themselves every morning, even when no one's watching, especially then, because success isn't found in grand gestures, it's found in quiet rituals. In the choice to rise with purpose instead of panic. So I invite you, before the next sunrise greets you, ask yourself, how will I meet the morning? Will I wake up chasing the world, or will I take a moment to return to myself first? Will I reach for my phone, or will I reach for my breath? That small choice, repeated day after day, becomes a habit, and that habit becomes a rhythm, and that rhythm becomes a life that feels like yours again. Because how you start your morning is how you start your life. Time is slippery. If you're not careful, it'll run right through your fingers while you're looking the other way. And that's why successful people don't just let the day happen to them. They shape it. They mold it. They carve it out piece by piece, moment by moment, using one of the most powerful tools there is, focused time, not scattered, not rushed, not borrowed, but blocked and protected like something priceless. Because it is. You can't build anything meaningful in a whirlwind, not a dream, not a business, not even peace. Scattered attention leads to scattered results. But when you learn to give your full self to one thing at a time, fully, presently, intentionally, that's when the magic starts to happen. And that's why successful people block their time. They don't leave their calendar blank for life to fill in. They assign every hour a purpose. There's a rhythm to their days, not rigid, but deliberate. They have space carved out for deep work, the kind that requires real focus, the kind that moves the vision forward. They have space for meetings, for thinking, for creating, and yes, even for resting. Because they understand that time isn't just something to be filled. It's something to be honored. You see, we've been taught that multitasking is a skill, that doing 3 things at once somehow makes us more productive, more efficient, more capable. But the truth is, multitasking divides your attention and scatters your power. You can't plant a seed and keep digging it up to see if it's growing. You've got to give it time. You've got to give it focus. That's what time blocking does. It says this hour is for this task and nothing else. It's not about being strict. It's about being present. It's about saying, right now I'm writing, or right now I'm meeting, or right now I'm thinking, and letting the rest of the world wait its turn. Successful people build those boundaries. They give their best energy to their most important work, not the noisy work, not the urgent, but empty tasks, the important work, the kind that grows something, the kind that requires your whole self to show up, not just your hands, but your mind, your spirit, your attention. And they know that the best way to get that kind of work done is not to find time for it. It's to make time for it. Now, that doesn't mean they never get distracted. They're human. Distractions knock too. But the difference is they know how to return. They know how to step back into their flow because they've already decided where their time is going. The plan is there. The focus has been chosen. So when the noise comes, and it always does, they don't get pulled under. They remember what matters, and they return. There's something so powerful about watching someone who honors their own time. You can feel it. There's a calmness in the way they move, a clarity in their eyes. They're not rushing from one thing to the next, trying to juggle 1,000 demands. They're present, they're focused. And because of that, they get more done in a few deep hours than most people get done in a full, frantic day. And let me say this, time blocking isn't just for work. It's for everything. Time to rest. Time to eat, time to laugh, time to do nothing at all. Because when everything has its place, when your day is structured with care, you stop living in reaction mode. You start living in rhythm. You start living with grace. I believe that we teach people how to treat our time by how we treat it ourselves. When we're scattered, others feel free to scatter us more. When we're clear, others step more carefully. It all starts with us. With our choices, with the quiet discipline of saying, this is what I'm doing now, and it matters enough to protect. Because your time is not a suggestion, it's a statement, and the way you spend it tells the world what you truly value. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you learn how to say no, not with bitterness, not with fear, but with clarity, with love for yourself, with deep respect for your purpose. You see, we've been taught to believe that saying yes is polite, that being available is generous, that stretching ourselves thin is somehow noble. But let me tell you, successful people, they know better. They know that a yes is not free. Every yes costs something, time, energy, focus. And if you keep saying yes to everything, you'll wake up one day and realize you've been living someone else's life. People who move with purpose, they've learned how to say no not just to bad things, but to good things that aren't right for them. That's a hard lesson, because sometimes the hardest choices aren't between right and wrong. They're between right and almost right. And if you're not careful, almost right will keep you just busy enough to miss what was meant for you. I've seen it so many times. Brilliant people pulled in every direction, afraid to disappoint, afraid to miss out, afraid to sit still. But you can't be everything to everyone. You can't pour from an empty cup. And the ones who succeed, the ones who build lives of substance and peace, they protect their yes like it's sacred, because it is. They don't answer every call. They don't show up at every event. They don't agree just to be liked. They've made peace with being misunderstood, because they understand what they're building. They understand what's at stake, and they refuse to trade their calling for the comfort of approval. You know, sometimes people will ask you to dim your light so they can feel better in the shadows. Sometimes they'll ask you to shrink your dreams to fit their version of safety. And if you're not grounded, if you don't know your own worth, you'll say yes to things that slowly unravel you, piece by piece, smile by smile, until you don't even recognize yourself in the mirror. But when you know your why, when you've done the work to know what matters to you, saying no becomes easier. It's no longer a rejection, it's a redirection. You're not being rude, you're being real, you're honoring your time. You're protecting your vision, and that's not selfish, that's wise. Successful people don't just make decisions based on the moment. They think about the impact. They ask themselves, if I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? And more often than not, the answer is something important. Sleep, peace of mind, time with family, progress on their goals. So they choose wisely. They've learned how to pause before they respond. They take a breath. They consider the weight of their yes, and sometimes they say no with a full heart and a clear conscience. Because here's the truth, people will always ask. They'll ask for your time, your energy, your presence. They'll ask for favors, support, advice, and it's not wrong to give, it's beautiful, but only if you're giving from a place of overflow, not depletion. When your yes comes from pressure or guilt, it's not generosity, it's self-neglect. I'm not telling you to become cold or unavailable. I'm telling you to be intentional, to know your boundaries, to know what you're here to do, and what you're not. Because saying no to one thing often means saying yes to something greater. Your rest, your growth, your peace, your purpose. There's a quiet kind of strength in people who can say no without apology. They're not angry, they're not defensive, they're simply rooted, grounded, clear, and that clarity makes room for excellence. It makes room for creativity. It makes room for the kind of deep, fulfilling work that only happens when you stop scattering yourself across everyone else's agenda. So when the invitations come, and they will ask yourself, is this in alignment with who I am and where I'm going? If it's not, let it pass. Let them be disappointed. Let them not understand. That's not your job. Your job is to be faithful to what you are called to do. Because every no, when spoken with truth and peace, brings you one step closer to the yes that was meant for you. There is a deep kind of wisdom in knowing you cannot do it all. Not because you're not capable, but because doing everything doesn't leave room for doing the right things. Successful people have learned that their power doesn't come from being involved in every detail. It comes from knowing which details need their hands, and which ones can be trusted to someone else or something else. You see, too many of us carry the weight of every little thing. We hold on because we think no one else will care like we do, or get it right like we would. But what that ends up doing is keeping us busy with tasks that keep us from growing. When your hands are always full with what's urgent, they have no space left for what's important. The people who thrive, who build lives of impact and peace, they've figured out how to let go of what's not theirs to carry. They delegate, they automate, They create systems that do the heavy lifting, so their time, their attention, their energy can go to the things only they can do. And that's not about being above the work. That's about being honest about where your value really lies. Let me tell you something. Letting go is not weakness. It's strategy. It's stewardship. It's saying, I honor my gifts enough to give them the space they need to breathe. When you stop trying to be the one, woman or one, man show, you realize how much lighter the journey becomes. You stop mistaking busyness for progress. You stop measuring your worth by how tired you are at the end of the day. Because the truth is, you weren't made to grind yourself down. You were made to rise, and rising doesn't mean doing it all. It means doing what matters most with all your heart. It means building a rhythm that supports you instead of draining you. People who use their 24 hours wisely don't waste precious time solving the same problems over and over. They put systems in place. They ask, how can I make this easier next time? They don't just work harder, they work smarter. A spreadsheet that tracks itself, a calendar that auto-reminds, an assistant who handles what used to take hours of their day. These things aren't luxuries, they're tools, and they know how to use those tools to protect their focus. And let's not forget, successful people surround themselves with support. They're not afraid to lean on others. They hire help when they need it. They ask for guidance. They give others space to lead, too. Because they understand that greatness is rarely a solo act. It's a team effort, a shared vision, a collective rhythm. And when you let go of the need to do it all alone, you make space for something bigger than you could build by yourself. I've seen people transformed by this shift. The moment they stop trying to control every little thing, they step into a new kind of freedom. They get their time back. They get their energy back. They start to feel clear again, creative again, and that clarity, that peace, that is the real fuel of success. That's what allows them to show up fully, not just for their work, but for their life. There's also a humility in delegation, a knowing that your way isn't the only way, a trust in the people you've brought around you, and that kind of trust, that willingness to release control, is what allows leaders to lead and visionaries to dream. You can't rise to the next level if you're always climbing ladders built on tasks that should have been handed off long ago. So let me ask you, what are you still carrying that someone else could carry for you? What task could be simplified, systemized, or shared? And what would you finally have the space to create, to feel, to live, if you laid that burden down? Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back and let someone, or something, help you move forward. You've heard it said that time is money, but let me tell you, time is far more valuable than money. Money can be earned again, it can be replaced, it can be multiplied, but once time is spent, it's gone. And I've seen too many people squander it, thinking there's always more around the corner. But there is no more time, not in the way we think. The moments we let slip by will never return, and that's why it's so crucial to invest your time, not just spend it. Successful people understand this deeply. They don't let their time just disappear into distractions or meaningless tasks. They invest their time in things that add value, not just to their lives, but to the lives of others. They recognize that time is an asset that, when used wisely, compounds in ways that change the course of their future. They treat their hours as if they are precious commodities, and they spend them on what really matters. And let me tell you, this mindset is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. When you invest your time, you're intentional about where it goes. You choose carefully. The same way you would put money into something that promises a return, you place your time into activities, people, and pursuits that feed your future. You see, Every hour you give to something is an investment in the person you'll become tomorrow. And what you choose to invest in will determine the trajectory of your life. Successful people know this. They invest in their growth, in learning, in sharpening their skills, in exploring new ideas. They invest in their health because they understand that their body is the vessel that carries them through life, and without it, nothing else matters. They invest in their relationships because no success is truly meaningful without the people you love to share it with. And most importantly, they invest in themselves, nurturing their mind, their spirit, their creativity. They guard their time fiercely, not to hoard it, but to ensure it's used for the things that matter most. The thing about investing your time is that it requires discipline. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that next year will be better, that tomorrow you'll make the right choice. But tomorrow is never promised, and waiting for a better time is just an excuse to keep delaying the things that matter. Successful people don't put things off. They do the work, make the call, take the step today. They understand that the compound effect of small, daily investments over time is what leads to long-term success. Now, investing your time doesn't mean being busy for the sake of it. It means choosing the right activities. It means knowing that every decision you make about where to spend your time is a step towards something bigger, something better. It means that even when life throws challenges your way, you stay grounded in the vision of what you're building. It's about clarity, about knowing what matters most, and about committing to it fully, even when the world tries to pull you in a million directions. Too often, we're told that success is a matter of how hard we work, how many hours we put in. But I'm here to tell you that it's not about the hours. It's about the quality of those hours. If you can focus, if you can give your undivided attention to what matters, then your time becomes a powerful tool. When you show up fully for your work, for your relationships, for your dreams, you make an impact that will echo far beyond what you can see. And here's something else. When you choose to invest your time wisely, it allows you to experience joy in the process. You're no longer stuck in a cycle of doing things just because you have to. You start doing things because they matter to you, to your purpose, to the future you're building. You'll find fulfillment in your work, in your life, in your daily rhythm, because each moment is aligned with who you are and where you're going. But investing your time doesn't just mean choosing to focus on what matters today. It's about building a foundation for your future. The seeds you plant today are the trees you'll be sitting under tomorrow, and sometimes those seeds require patience. Sometimes you won't see the return on your time right away, but that doesn't mean it's not growing. It's working, it's unfolding. In the end, success isn't measured by how many hours you put in. It's measured by how well you invested those hours. And when you make intentional choices, when you prioritize what truly matters, when you stop wasting your precious time on things that don't move you forward, then you begin to build a life that speaks for itself. Because every hour you spend is an investment in your future. The question is, what will you choose to invest in today?